Hello everyone, this is Elijah Black with Live Beam Weather. Today we're going to look over the pattern change coming to the Pacific Northwest and the update on LaNina. Alright, let's check it out. Let's start with the infrared satellite imagery. You can see the storm system barreling right into the north central coast of British Columbia. This low Gulf of Alaska low pressure system, you can see it right there wrapping around there. It's right around the Aleutian Islands there. If we keep scrolling in there, you can see it starts this little blob. This might hit parts of southwestern British Columbia, including Vancouver. So we'll see what that does. Let's start off with the 500 millibar height and anomaly. This is basically the upper air pattern at 5,000 feet. No, 10,000 feet in the surface. 10,000 feet. So let's look at it. We got this low pressure system. It's up here. It's going to skim us. We're going to get some showery weather possibly. And then that deeper low pressure system is going to head into the north coast there in southwestern Alaska. Southeastern Alaska, my bad. And then this ridge of high pressure is going to start to build in here. It's going to be a quick transient ridge. You can see this trough is going to start moving in. And then we get that storm train activated. Yeah, it looks like right into early October. And then it does show a ridge showing up about a week later. But this is all fantasy land for now. Let's take a look at the mesoscale RDPS model, the Canadian mesoscale model here, and you can see this rain does reach into parts of southwestern BC a little bit as the atmospheric river does come more south. This is looking at Friday evening right now into Saturday, and you can see it's not much. It is a decent soaker for parts of Vancouver, BC, northwards, Vancouver Island, Sunshine Coast, and, up there, more on the coast, along the coast there. And you can see that passes through. But you can see this other system loading up, and right now it can only go out 75 hours. So let me see if I can actually refresh that, because I have a feeling it should go further than that now. Let me just refresh to see if this works or not. Yeah. You can see right there, the system is loading up there. That atmospheric river hits us. Not super strong, nothing crazy, no floods. And then this second system, that is a barreling system right there. That's a nice piece of moisture coming right in to the Pacific Northwest and the South Coast. Coming in. So we're looking up a bit of a wider view. This is looking all of North America, Canada, USA, Mexico, Baja Peninsula, Florida, whatever it is. You can see this trough digging into the Central Coast. This deeper Gulf of Alaskan trough kind of sits offshore, bringing a few chances of systems in. And then it shows that system, that ridge building an aft behind it. But let's just take a look at this down here, just for fun. You can see it does have two tropical waves developing there. One there hitting the Carolinas, and then the second stronger one, the Fujiwara effect. You can see them kind of spinning around each other almost. And then it gets caught up in this wavelength towards this other trough. This would form a different storm up there. We'll see what happens. There is a potential for some interesting activity there in the tropics as we head into next week. Definitely, for sure. Let's take a look at precipitation totals. This is just a fun look. Doesn't mean this will happen. Maybe we'll get more, maybe we'll get less. But yeah, if we look into the next 14 days, just for fun. Remember, things can change long range, but you can see anywhere north of the Puget Sound, north of Washington State, western Washington State, even Oregon into northern California, and the BC coast is going to get hit pretty hard with some nice fall rain systems here. And this will definitely help with the reservoirs and such. Let's actually look at something else for fun here. It's wintertime, so we might as well check this out. Let's take a look at this. I didn't even think about this. Let's just look at this here. Total snow Kuchera. Let's look at this. Alright, so if you look at this is looking at total snow it shows. Once again, it's all fantasy land, it's fun, but we're heading into winter now. Not yet, but soon we're going to be transitioning into winter in about a couple months. So that means snow at the northern latitudes, snow on some of the higher peaks, mountain peaks down south, is really starting to look like it's going to happen. And that is a sign of winter going to be coming in a couple months here. GFS here, got the upper air pattern ridge up in central Canada. Once again, those tropical hurricanes looking interesting there. I don't know if anything crazy will form, but we'll see. And then this Gulf of Alaska trough showing up here on the GFS. And GFS is a bit more active. It does keep that signal going further into the run, but that's, once again, fantasy land once you get past 200 hours or so. All we know is that it's going to get pretty active here for a few days. Enough for some nice rain totals. So here's the European Ensemble member. Remember, 50 different members put together, different computer samples, and they all agree towards a trough. You can see the jet stream would be dipping down over, and then you see that ridge here, up and down. This would be a pretty chilly-ish, but rainy pattern with some mountain snow above 2,000 meters or so. And if you scroll off, it starts to weaken. You get that ridge signal showing up, but it doesn't hang around. That ridge doesn't hang around, but this is now 294 hours out, so we'll see. This is Abbotsford Airport. This is the European Ensemble looking at 50 different members, 24-hour precipitation, millimeters. Looks pretty active here. You know, you can see this atmospheric river will weaken and might give some light rain. The further north you are, the better for this. Abbotsford is a bit more south of near the border, but you can see over here, pretty active signal coming into the area here into next weekend, and maybe a bit of a break, we'll see. And then you can see it just doesn't really stop. You can really see that fall pattern taking shape at a good time this year. And then we have Seattle-Tacoma International Airport here. Maybe a bit of showery activity, we'll see. A few members have that. A nice little chunk of rain coming. A lot of systems are showing up. Another pulse there. It's looking pretty good, if I say so myself. Let's look at this again. We looked at this last week. So the ENSO probabilities issued September 2025 by the National Weather Service. LaNina is likely to develop off this chart, 71% chance, and then it goes down to about a 54% chance in December, January, February. And then you can see this neutral signal start to really get up there, and then even that El Nino starting to go on the rise. Maybe we will enter an El Nino next year, but I'm not sure. We'll see. This is what a typical La Nina pattern likes to feature. It likes to feature high altitude blocking in the northeastern Pacific Ocean, which can raise the jet stream north, and whatever has to come up will go down. You can see this here. The more wavy jet stream, likely a weaker polar vortex there. Cooler, wetter conditions along Vancouver Island, Oregon, Washington, Northern California, and that colder signal west coast and also into central Canada and north central United States. That's a stereotypical pattern with the La Nina. It can be changed by stuff. It doesn't mean it will stay like this all winter. It can be different in a few ways, but you can see that usually it's a bit warmer and drier along the Atlantic coast, and a bit better pattern for lake effect snow here in the Great Lakes region. Usually pretty cold up in Canada during La Ninas. Let's take a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies across the Pacific Ocean. This is looking at now, you got that blob, but if we scroll back to, let's just scroll back to middle of June, you can see during the summer we had some pretty big heat waves in the ocean there. And what that did over the ocean, so what that did is it moved that blob of heat, the sea surface temperature anomalies, more east over the west coast. Even if you look into early September, this is when that blob was really taking shape. But over the last few days or a week or two, the blob has shown signs of weakening a bit, but this could still have some implications on our winter. This is looking at the equator here. We're looking at LaNina. If we scroll out, let's just go back to early September. You can see that cooler upwelling there really significantly showing, and it's really past the date line. You can see that cold tongue getting close to East Asia there. But you can see that those warmer areas there, warmer pools going on. That doesn't mean La Nina is fading. It means we're temporarily delaying it. Likely has to do with an MJO phase, or has to do something with some upwelling phases in the equator. Now let's look at the 850 millibar pressure zonal wind anomalies. So usually, I don't know much about this. I'm still learning, but it does tend to favor upwelling when those cooler anomalies are showing up. And then you can see in the last week or so, we've been in a bit of a weaker phase. There's still stuff there, but it's a bit weaker. And a better phase is looking to take shape end of September into early October. So maybe some more upwelling there happening. Let's take a look here at the temperature anomalies seasonal outlook from the National Weather Service. Take in mind, they're likely using La Nina or other teleconnections. Just because it shows us favoring these things doesn't mean it'll happen. But at the moment, they are favoring December, January, February 2025, 2026, this year, to be a below normal winter across the Pacific Northwest. That is usually more favorable for a colder and snowier winter, even for Seattle, but especially the ski hills. It does show that warmer signal for central southern California, all the way into Texas, into the Atlantic seaboard there, with that southeast ridge showing up with what they think is going to happen. Oh, geez Louise, how do you fix this? You can see that below signal, normal signal showing up through late winter as well, up in the northern United States, northwestern United States, and then that warmer signal showing up again in the eastern seaboard. But that does not mean that the eastern seaboard will not have a significant snow event. It also does not mean that this is correct and it will be cold in the Pacific Northwest all winter. It does not mean that. But it is a favorable signal to see a better ski season up in the Northwest, and maybe a chance for some cold air into the lowlands, such as Seattle or Portland or Vancouver, BC. Once again, we don't know. All right, so looking back at this again, thank you guys very much for watching. I've been quite busy lately, so I haven't been able to post much. I'll try to be more active on here. I'll probably do 1 or 2 times a week. That's probably what I can aim for. So yeah, active pattern coming to the Pacific Northwest. Rain, some wind chances. Yeah, we're getting into October now, so things are going to start cooling off. We got that snow going on the mountains, maybe 2,000 meters. And yeah, La Nina is going to form, it looks like, and maybe that will mean a great winter. Who knows? Thank you.